Have you ever just stopped and wondered what really holds our digital world together? Well, in the next few minutes, we're going to explore a quiet but incredibly powerful idea that's right at the heart of all the apps you use every single day.
I mean, think about it. The apps you use for streaming, for talking with your friends, for your classes, they have millions of users, countless features, and they're constantly being updated. How on earth do they stay stable? How do they not just crumble under their own weight?
Well, it turns out there's something at their core, working behind the scenes.
A kind of plan, a map, an idea that exists long before the first line of code is ever even written.
So what is this invisible blueprint? Well, in the world of software engineering, it has a name: software architecture.
Okay, so that's the formal definition, but what does that actually mean? Basically, it's the fundamental organization of a system. It's not the code itself, but the design of how all the pieces of code are going to be structured, how they'll fit together, and how they'll talk to one another.
It's a fair question, right? Why spend all this time planning when you could just start building? Well, think of it this way. You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, would you? A software system is really no different. Having that plan is absolutely crucial for a few key reasons. First off, the architecture acts as a shared language. It's like a high-level map that everyone on the project, from engineers to managers to designers, can look at and actually understand. It gets everyone on the same page, focused on the same vision. Second, it forces the team to make those big, foundational decisions at the very beginning, and that's when changes are still easy and, inexpensive to make. Getting these big decisions right early on has a huge impact on the entire project down the line.
And finally, it takes what could be an overwhelmingly complex system and turns it into a manageable model that you can actually wrap your head around. It gives you a way to understand the whole system without getting lost in thousands and thousands of tiny details.
So, what is this blueprint really about? Well, the first key idea is that architecture isn't concerned with the tiny details. It's about the big, structural components.
This is a great way to think about it. In a house, you don't start by picking out doorknobs. You start by deciding on the rooms, the big pieces. And in software, it's the same thing. You first decide on the major functional blocks, the part the user sees, the part that stores all the data, and the part that contains all the core rules and operations. So it's about seeing the big picture first.
But of course, a blueprint isn't just a collection of rooms, which brings us to our second key idea. It's about how those rooms connect. Architecture isn't just about the components, it's about their relationships.
And these connections are every bit as important as the pieces themselves. How does the user interface get information from the database? What are the rules for how the business logic can update that information? The architecture defines all of these pathways and protocols. It's kind of like the plumbing and the electrical wiring of the system.
Okay, so we have the big pieces and the connections between them, but where do these designs even come from? That leads us to our third key idea. The thing is, architects almost never start from a completely blank page. They're actually building on generations of collective wisdom.
This right here shows the power of not reinventing the wheel. Just as a building architect can choose a style that's known to be sturdy and functional, a software architect can use established patterns for common problems. These are proven, reliable solutions for organizing things like e-commerce sites or data processing systems. You just don't have to start from scratch every single time.
This quote from the legendary software engineer Barry Boehm really says it all. Marry your architecture in haste, repent at your leisure. The architectural decisions you make at the beginning are going to stay with you for the entire life of the project. A good choice can make everything smoother for years, while a poor one can cause, endless frustration.
So yeah, these early choices have a huge impact. But what does that mean for you?
You don't have to go out and design some massive system tomorrow. That's not the point. The real value is in just starting to cultivate an architect's mindset. It's a way of thinking that you can apply to any project, no matter how small it is.
Here are 3 simple principles you can start with. First, always take a moment to just think before you act. Second, simplicity is your friend. Seriously, strive for the simplest possible design that works. And third, have a clear vision for what you're building and try to stick to it. And remember, the goal here isn't immediate mastery. It's about developing the ability to look at a piece of software and see its underlying structure, to appreciate the thought behind its design. It's about seeing the blueprint. I'll leave you with this final thought. We often think of engineering as just making things work. But maybe, at its best, a truly great design does something more.
It takes a complex, chaotic problem and brings a sense of clarity, stability, and maybe even peace to it. And that might be the most valuable thing it does.